Here is expert advice about how to answer difficult written station questions on the CASPer. You are a grad student observing an interaction between another grad student and a professor. The professor shares the news that he received significant funding for their research. To celebrate, he invites the student and her lab mates and plans to use some of the grant money for the food and drinks for the team. He says, "Who cares? Next semester we are going to offer a bird course. Increase enrollment, which means more money for us." The student appears uncomfortable during this interaction. Question 1. What would you do in this situation? Question 2. What would you do if you were the student in this scenario? Question 3. Do you think it is okay for a publicly funded institution to offer intentionally easy or bird courses? Why or why not?
I try to identify the most vulnerable party, but I gave my if-then statements, but maybe holding those off because, like you said, it may have appeared as more of an assumption or me jumping to conclusions.
Okay, so you started by saying, I will begin by speaking to the other students. They appear to be in an uncomfortable position, therefore I need to find out more. But you did not highlight the person issue. What is your main concern? So your main concern here could be several things, right? You're concerned about the professor. You're concerned about just using the grant money appropriately. You're concerned about maybe the potential reputation of the school if this grant money is not being used appropriately. Okay, so try to expect, when you have this situational question, think of all who could be affected directly and indirectly by this situation. Okay,
so you suggest making a statement that like explicitly says I am concerned about, or and then stating everything, right?
Yes. So in your own words, whatever feels natural. Oh, I am most concerned about. Oh, I am worried about. Oh, one of my main concerns. So however you put it, just to highlight, because you're demonstrating that you think like a doctor, right?
Yes.
This is my motivation. I'm always concerned about the most vulnerable party. That's the first thing on my mind at all times. And everything that I do is to ensure that they remain okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Then you said they appear okay. I would also have a private conversation with the professor about what I have overheard. What else could you be? Remember empathy. Demonstrate empathy as much as possible. So, for example, let's see how we could have expanded this. I would ask to speak to the professor privately, and I would let him know that I overheard. I would apologize for overhearing his conversation. I wanted him, to know that I'm excited about the grant, and just ask him for more information about the grant. That way you are sure not accusing anybody, you're not making any assumption. You're just excited about the grant and you want to know more. And that is your gathering your information to understand what is the grant, what are the parameters, who is the grant from, what can you do and not do with the grant, just to gather that information. You said if the professor says that the department is allowed to act in this manner, then all is well. Again, all is well, it's not a solution. What would you do? So if after you've spoken to the professor, you got all the information about the grant, and then you realize that they are allowed to have, maybe there's a miscellaneous part of it that allow him to spend money taking out the lab members, then again, what would you do in that situation? So, for example, after speaking to the professor, gathering all my information, and the professor has explained the grants to me and the parameters, and I find out that there are allowances made within that grant for what he's about to do, again, I will reiterate my interest in, or my excitement about the grant, and would just let him know that I was just really concerned and just wanted to ensure that, we could keep the grant and continue doing the valuable research. Okay. You see what I mean? Instead of just saying, well, all is well. You see, just more developed. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
You said, okay, if I find out that a professor is planning and acting in a fraudulent manner, and it is a one-time incident, I would urge him not to do this and explain the impact it could have on himself, the students, and the university. Again, I would eliminate the word fraudulent. Okay, so if after I find out that there is not an allowance made for what the professor have in mind, then I would explain to him that this could potentially negatively affect whether we keep getting grants. And then what is your solution? I would suggest to him How about if we all pay for our dinner? Again, a solution.
Okay.
Let's see here. Then you said, if this is something the professor does frequently and he is dismissive, I would have to report him to the appropriate authority. Why would you report him?
Because of the potential implications of his actions.
To this, and it is. Do you think you're ethically obligated to do so?
I think if because I am a grad student in that same department, I would have a responsibility to the department and the university itself.
Yes, say that.
Yeah. Okay.
As a grad student, I am I have an ethical responsibility to report this because because of the implications of this action, not only to the professor, but to everyone that grant, would affect the school, even the school's reputation.
Yeah.
So again, develop it further. Don't leave anything to the imagination of the rector. This is why I'm doing this. I feel like I have an ethical responsibility to do this. Okay. What would you do if you were the student in the scenario? You said, I would educate my professor on why would not be a good idea. Again, I would eliminate the word educate.
Okay.
You do not want to come across as maybe being arrogant or, so why this may not be a good idea. I would have a private and respectful conversation about the consequences of expensing the school for dinner and drinks. I would explain the negative implication it could have on his career long term and the university. If he owns up to his lapse in judgment, all is well. If not, I would report him. Again, solutions. Yeah. So you're telling him, okay, don't do this. This could be really bad for us. Instead, here's what we could do. Okay. Number 3, do you think it is okay for a publicly funded institution to offer intentionally easy or bird courses? Why or why not? What type of question is this one?
I ran out of time, but I think this is more of a policy type of question.
Yes. Do you know the approach for the policy type questions?
I think so. I think first we will suggest a statement that would sort of like a broader statement identifying that there are like both pros and cons, the way that they talked about it, and then speaking about a couple of pros and then identifying cons, but then making a statement about what side you would pick and then connecting it back to your future profession and what you'd learn.
Not future profession that's only for personal.
Okay.
So policy, you show awareness. One of the ways to show awareness is just by defining the issue.
Yes.
What about bird courses? Why are they offered? Just show that you're aware that this is happening. Then 2 to 3 advantages, 2 to 3 disadvantages of offering bird courses. Not just offering it, but publicly funded institution offering these courses. Okay, and that will allow you to show a balanced approach. I can look at this from both sides. And then what do you think? Do you think it's okay or do you think it is not okay? If you think it's okay, then you'll provide a modification. I think it's okay, but here's how we could make this, a better policy. Or if you think it is wrong, I do not agree with this. Instead, I think we should do this. So if you agree, you do a modification. If you disagree, you do a alternative. So for this overall, the first 2 questions, the first one, again, you followed most of the structure. Remember, you didn't include the precedent.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could expand on it a lot. And then the last one, again, you did not really complete do you understand how you could have made it better?
Of course I do.
Okay. Any questions on here?
No, I don't think so. I think we're good.
Implement these tips in your CASPer responses to secure a 4th quartile score.